Hey everyone, Rodolfo here, and the topic of today's video is one that has unfortunately become all too common in recent months, but one that we need to talk about, which is the mass tech layoffs that have been sweeping through the industry, being affected by it, and how to bounce back. So in late January, I've found out firsthand how being caught in this layoff frenzy can be. Last year, I was hired by an outsourcing company to work with one of their US clients, and things were going great. The pay was good, the team was absolutely amazing, and my performance reviews were all performing above expectations, whatever that means, and I felt like I was on top of the world. But then late January came and they announced that they would be letting go 20% of their full-time employees, including my manager, who was probably the best manager I've ever had, and 50% of the contractors. And unfortunately, my name was on that list. It was shocking news to be sure, not just that it happened to me, but that it happened at all, and especially to people that I admired and really enjoyed working with and that I thought were really competent. But yeah, the day that was supposed to be my 1-year anniversary with the company ended up being my last day there. So let me get to the lessons that I've learned from all of this experience first, and then stick to the end of the video and I'll talk a little bit about what's next for me. So the first thing for me was to realize that even though I was being laid off from a job that I really liked, I couldn't let this get me down. So I took the opportunity to just reflect, regroup, and come up with a plan of action to get to the next step of what was going to be next for me. And this is what I want to talk to you guys about today: how to approach being laid off and how to bounce back from it. So first and foremost, I think it's important to realize that being picked to be let go during a mass layoff is not about your performance. It has no relation to it, and it definitely has no relation to your worth as an employee. Mass layoffs are circumstances that are beyond your control, and sometimes entire departments are being scrapped or projects are being canceled, restructurings are going on, so there's usually not a lot that you could have done differently to prevent being picked. I've seen a lot of people, not just from my company, but from a lot of other places, who were all performing above expected and who got let go. So don't beat yourself up over it. Focus on what's next, not what happened. It's also important to recognize that the reason why you were picked to be let go and someone else wasn't doesn't matter. Sometimes there may not even be a reason. So what's important here is to take lessons from the experience, analyze your tenure at the company, and try to come up with things to improve in your next job for your own personal growth's sake, not for the job itself. But take a look at how you used to do things and how you can make them better in the next place that you go. Having said all that, let's focus on getting you another job. The first important aspect to preparing yourself to get that next job is to focus on polishing your online presence. This means updating your LinkedIn profile, your resume, portfolio, GitHub account. Make sure everything is up to date and that it showcases your strengths and your accomplishments. The more complete and up to date everything is, the better it will stand out to recruiters. Having a medium or a blog where you post about technical things, or even a YouTube channel or other social media that are video based where you post tutorials or other technical things can also help. Another key aspect of being successful in your next job search is understanding the selection process. You need to be aware of what recruiters and hiring managers want and make sure that you're able to demonstrate that you have those skills. This means that you need frequent training. If you have been out of college for a while and haven't practiced regularly, it's very hard to do well in whiteboard style algorithms and data structure exercises because you just don't see that every day in your day-to-day job as an iOS developer. This is something that I had to learn the hard way. There are a lot of places that ask for these kinds of tests, and it's very hard to do those in 20 or 30 minutes while exploring explaining your thought process if you're not practicing regularly, which honestly I wasn't. Something else that you might need to practice somewhat regularly is system design exercises. These are not as common for iOS positions, but I did come across a few places that asked for those, and you need to be prepared for them if they come up as one of the steps in your selection process. Networking is also crucial when it comes to finding your next job. Talk to people who you worked with in the past who can refer you, especially if they have open positions at their current companies. Connect with recruiters and hiring managers at places where you want to work at. Introduce yourself. Don't just apply for the openings and then cross your fingers and hope for the best. Make a connection and be memorable. Now, if you have not been affected by a layoff, here's what you can do to be prepared in case it suddenly comes. First and foremost, build a 3 to 6 months emergency fund. If you don't have one, this will give you the financial cushion that you need in case of a sudden job loss, and it will also give you the peace of mind that your expenses are paid for when you don't have any income coming in while you're trying to find your next job and do the selection processes. Having an emergency fund takes a little bit of the pressure off of the feeling that you have to take the first job you get offered because you need to pay your bills. It gives you the peace of mind to just do the selection processes that you want to do, and gives you a little more time to take an offer that you actually are interested in. The second thing, as I mentioned before, is that frequent training is needed, especially when it comes to whiteboard style coding challenges that you don't see or do every day. You also need to stay up to date with newer industry trends and things you might not have as much contact with in your current job project. Like, for example, Swift UI, if your project still uses UIKit or Swift concurrency. Newer things like that sometimes if you're working with more legacy code, you don't have as much contact with that. You need to find a way to practice that through personal projects and just be prepared for whatever comes your way. As for me, I actually had an eye surgery scheduled for the week after the week that was supposed to be my last week of work, and that kind of threw a wrench into the whole thing because I had to pause some selection processes that I had already started, and while I was recovering, some of those positions closed and so on. Luckily though, as I recovered and was able to start doing interviews again, a great company that I worked for about 2 years or so ago contacted me, and they wanted me to come back for a new position on a new project that they were starting, and I accepted it, and I just began working there again mid last month. I'm really glad that this opportunity came up so soon, but I also think that this plays a little bit into that networking bit that I was talking about earlier in the video. I left this company to pursue a different opportunity that came up about 2 years ago, but kept in touch with friends from over there, and that led to this return now. So, being laid off is never easy, but it doesn't have to be the end of your career. I really hope that to anyone who has been affected by these layoffs and is watching this right now, that you guys find a new opportunity soon. I hope that the tips here are helpful, and I'll catch you guys on the next video. Bye.